we've got a pretty special guest joining us, Lochie Taylor. He was just driving around aimlessly. I've given him a call. G'day, Loch. Welcome to Drive.
Afternoon, Marty and Seb. Hope you're well. I've been tuning in all afternoon and I've been waiting for about 2 years for you two to call me, and this is the first time.
Oh, well, now, you're the man. I know Grant Burns is the official man with the job of getting the horses across, but you know what's going on. Who's coming, who's not, and who could come?
Well, it's interesting. Obviously, there's still a lot to play out with the large majority of horses still to have another run prior to getting on the plane here to Perth. So the ones I'd be most confident on are obviously Overpass and Ray Magnerio. Robbie Griffith's very vocal on the fact that he'd like to get Ray Magnerio here for a Winterbottom, and as we know, Overpass, he just grows legs here in Perth, and from what I understand, he'll come straight to Perth and won't run at Flemington on that final day. So that'd be the two I'm most confident on coming across. I heard Gavin Bedgood mention earlier this morning with TC and Diggers that he'd like to get Kingswood over for a Northerly and also Hedged over for a Winterbottom and a Gold Rush. Obviously, that's pending another run. And then you had to be under a rock to be missing the news about Mr. Brightside and the fact that he's been really well backed in all-in markets earlier this week. I think 11 into $4 for the Gold Rush, and word's certainly out that he would like to, the Hayes team would like to come across to WA, but I'm always a little bit more...
Don't leave us this way, Loch.
Oh,
there we go.
Today, so I'm a little bit worried.
Just lost you at the back end there, but we'll push on. Loch, in terms of the Eastern States Raiders, as we like to call them, do you find that the interest has grown over the last couple of years in bringing this horse flesh over, specifically with the success that Overpass has had?
I think.
Hey, Loch.
Have you got me?
No.
Yeah, you've just come back now. Maybe just turn your head a little bit and go again.
Hello, have you got me?
Yeah,
boys?
that's better. That's much better.
Moved an inch.
There we go. That's
Okay.
better.
It's my first time, as I said.
Bit nervous.
As I was saying, I think the introduction of the Gold Rush has helped, although we actually haven't seen much Eastern representation for the Gold Rush in the first few years. So whilst it's the extra $1.5 million race at the end of our carnival that's getting these horses across, I think ideally Perth Racing and Racing WA would still like to see more East Coast representation on that last day. So yes and no, I think, Seb. I think it's made us more relevant, but we still probably haven't quite seen the amount of horse flesh that we'd ideally like to see from the East Coast come across here to the West.
Zoo Sensation, the boys training Zoo Sensation were very keen to come across too, weren't they?
I'd say so. He'd be well suited to a race like a Winterbottom and a Gold Rush. So, yeah, there's just still so much to play out. Obviously,
Correct.
As I said, it's always a little bit nerve-wracking, and you've been in this role with Perth Racing before, Muddy, where you know that when they still have one more run to go, all of a sudden, if they have an unplaced run or they run sixth or seventh and they don't pull up quite well, their preparation can pull up stumps pretty quickly.
That is for sure. Now, Belgravia Stakes, the boys off the Sports Daily have allowed us to talk to Dan Pearce yesterday with Talk & Co and Dan Morton today with King of Light. So very magnanimous of those gentlemen in Diggers and TC to leave us the favourite and the second favourite, $3.80 and $4. Do these two necessarily win this race? One of these two?
I don't think so. I think Talking Co, she's a star filly. I'm a huge fan of hers, but she has an awkward draw to overcome, 13 of 15. And King of Light, I did hear your interview with Dan Morton. He's very much on a Faritha, WA Guineas, maybe even a Northerly pathway. So for me, 1,200 metres might be a fraction sharp for him, especially for a really long-striding horse like him. He's more than likely going to get hemmed away. Maybe not so much on the rail, but in between horses, and I don't think that will be his career to date. So I'd be happy to take him on at the price at the moment at 1,200 metres first up, knowing that he'll improve at 14 and then the mile of the WA Guineas. Talk and Go is an interesting one because she'll get back in the second half of the field and all we need is a southwesterly in play or the race to develop with a 3-deep line, and all of a sudden she's only 3 or 4 lengths off them at the top of the straight and she'll be really hard to hold out. But for me, I think there's still plenty of value in the race, and there is a couple of odds that I don't mind.
Well, what have you landed on then, Loch?
Well, I actually think Zoo Run Run can run a really big race. What price is she at the moment?
$11. $11 right now on Tab Touch, $3.50 the place.
I think that's a really good push that Chris Parnham's willing to ride 53 kilos at the back end of October for that filly. And while she's only coming out of midweek grade, she actually hasn't been tested in Saturday company or black type company previously. I loved her recent trial. To my eye, it looked like she's come back even better throughout that 80-day spell since we last saw her at the beginning of August. So she'd be one. And then another horse that I really like the look of moving forward is Stormaway from the Mitch Pateman yard. He's still a maiden and clear races, but I'm really excited to see what he can do tomorrow en route likely to a WA Guineas in 4 weeks' time.
Stormaway open at 14 out to 20, now back into $16.
Now, Loch, we know that you are the face and voice of WA racing and that you took that mantle over from your sister and, you know, we've sort of forgotten about Brit. She just drifted off and earning big money with Ladbrokes, but my goodness me, I hope you've run a tape over what she's doing at Moonee Valley tonight. I think you could learn a few things from Big Sis. She just said, look, I know, Loch, you've been going along all right over there, but just have a look at Big Sis go.
What was that last question she asked Craig Williams? Like, she was asking him if he still had things to learn. Like,
Geez, you're a harsh marker.
I don't want a Sibley rivalry exploding on drive. This could go anywhere. But
no,
I
she's
wouldn't
doing
mind,
a very good job.
when she finishes with that pink suit she's got on, any chance you could get into that for a race meeting? You look good.
For charity or for any voices? Like
No, just for
just about anything.
Robbie Williams won of the AFL Grand Final a few years ago. He did pretty well, so I reckon you could be in that.
Magnificent. Looking forward to your work tomorrow morning and tomorrow afternoon on 7 Plus should be fantastic.
Thank you, boys. Great show.